Good afternoon. I'm Julie Broughton. The time now is 12:30. I hope you had a great weekend and are easing through your Monday nicely, getting a nice start to your work week as we head through after the holidays. This is Take 6. It's your afternoon news update, and we are so excited you're spending a little bit of time with us today. If you've been outside today, you know it's a rather warm day, but we do have a cold front on the way right now. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll have a look at your full forecast, and we'll tell you how cold it will be when you wake up tomorrow morning. I'll give you a hint. We're going to see some of the coldest air we've seen since December 2022. So we're really going to feel the effects of this front. We're also going to check in with our friend News 6 anchor and space expert Eric Von Aken, and he will give us an idea as to when we may see that launch of the Blue Origin New Glenn rocket. So he will join us with the very latest on that. But first, today is January 6th, and that means Congress is convening to certify the presidential election results, and Vice President Kamala Harris will be presiding over that certification, of course, of her 2024 opponent, President-elect Donald Trump. To talk much more about how all of this works is our friend UCF history professor and News 6 political analyst, Dr. Jim Clark. Hi, Jim.
Happy New Year, Julie.
Happy New Year. I hope the New Year's going well for you. I see you have all your books back there.
It's back to work week. Everybody goes
right?
kind of back to work. It's, I need another week. How about you?
I know, kind of easing into it, back to regular life. Isla, my daughter, still isn't back in school. Orange County goes back tomorrow, so then we'll really be back in the swing of things. It's time. So, Jim, a lot going on today. Obviously, it is January 6th, so that means we are certifying the results of the presidential election. Not you and me, but Congress, rather, certifying the results. And there are some changes since the last time this happened, so walk us through that.
Yeah. First of all, I don't know if you've seen the video, but the weather is much different.
Yes.
The Capitol is under about a foot of snow this time around, compared to 4 years ago with all the trouble when the weather was gorgeous. So if we'd had the snow 4 years ago, we probably would not have had all those problems. This time around, it's kind of the reverse of 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Mike Pence had to declare Joe Biden the winner and had to declare Kamala Harris the vice presidential winner. And now it's Kamala Harris declaring Donald Trump the winner. So, gosh, it's kind of a flip-flop here.
Absolutely. And there's a new law in place now, kind of reiterating that the vice president's role in this is purely ceremonial. That went into effect in 2022. Explain a little bit more about that and what's going on with that.
Yeah. 4 years ago, Republicans contended that the vice president could stop the process, that the vice president had the power to uncertify or not certify all the electoral votes and throw it into chaos. And you saw the outcome of that, which was a disaster. And so Congress passed a law making it clear what everybody knew, that this is a largely ceremonial role. All he does is count the votes, or she does today. And in fact, she doesn't even have to do it. If she didn't want to do it, she could not show up and let the president pro tem of the Senate, who's a Republican, count the votes.
So take us through the timeline of how everything is going to happen today.
Well, the election, of course, was in November. And remember, the founding fathers envisioned a much slower system. It would take voters weeks to get their votes recorded and riders on horseback to bring them to the state capitals. So, although the election was in November, they didn't have to have the electoral votes in until December. And now they count them in January. So the results are there. Vice President Harris will have them, and she will have to go through them state by state. Kind of an agonizing thing. I would hate to have to sit there and count votes for the person who beat me. It doesn't sound like much fun, Julie.
It doesn't. I guess that's the risk you take when you're running for president. Now, you mentioned, of course, last time Vice President Mike Pence had to certify the election for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but it's not often that we see the vice president then certifying the victory of their direct opponent. But that's happened before, though, right?
It has. Al Gore had to certify that he had been beaten by uh, uh, George Bush II. It happened with Nixon the first time around in 1960. He had to certify that John Kennedy had beaten him. And in 1968, Vice President Hubert Humphrey was supposed to certify that he had been beaten by Richard Nixon, but he was a no show. He
Hmm.
didn't show up. And so the president pro tem of the Senate did the job for him. And nobody was ever quite sure whether he just didn't want to do it or was angry or what the situation was.
Maybe he double booked himself. He had a conflict. He had a
Yeah,
brunch
yeah,
that he
lots
had to
to
get
do
to.
that day.
Right, he was very busy. So, what time does all this happen, and how long generally does it take? We're expecting it to go smoothly today. Obviously, how long is the process?
It's a pretty fast process, just however long it takes to go through 50 states. They should be starting anytime, and it'll be pretty quick. And compared to 4 years ago, this is going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, and you mentioned the weather, man. It has just been brutal with that blizzard across much of the central U.S. So probably not a lot of people out and about that don't have to be in D.C. today.
No, the Capitol grounds, unlike 4 years ago, are deserted today. There is no one out except a few people shoveling snow so they can have this session of the Senate.
All right. Well, Dr. Jim Clark, thank you so much. It's always so nice to see you.
Good to see you.
All right. We'll talk
Thank
to
you,
you
Julie.
soon, Jim.
Bye.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll check in with Eric Von Aken. He'll have more on the potential launch date of the Blue Origin New Glenn rocket. And we will also talk more about the cold front that is making its way into Central Florida right now and just how chilly it will be for us this time tomorrow. There will be a big difference. Stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Take 6. I'm Julie Broughton. The time now is 12:39. If you were watching us on YouTube, you saw a beautiful shot of the beach there. That will be changing. We'll have a check of your full forecast, including a really big cool down coming up in just a few minutes. But first, we want to check in with our friend Eric Von Aken, who is joining us live from his car. He is out on the Space Coast today. And Eric, you are working on a story about Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket launch, when we might see that, talking about a window from the FAA, what that means, a lot going on out there.
Hey, Julie. Yes,
Hi.
we're at the Kennedy Space Center. So forgive me if the reception is not good. We're actually heading down Route 3 to try and get a better signal as we talk. So it's true. Just cut me off if it doesn't, because I would think by the second it should get better, Julie. So yeah, I'm with Destiny here, as always, my photographer extraordinaire and photojournalist. And what we're looking into today is several things, but among them, as you mentioned, the launch of Blue Origin, also the history of Blue Origin. So first of all, I should tell everybody that if you're not a space nerd like me, maybe you don't know that the New Glenn rocket is the mega rocket from a company other than SpaceX, right? So if you think about commercial companies, or you listen to anything about commercial companies, SpaceX, it seems, is dominating the news. Well, now Blue Origin is the company founded by Amazon founder and the second richest person in the world, I believe, Jeff Bezos. And he started a rocket company and he announced plans to also build a rocket that would compete with SpaceX. The thing is, Elon Musk and SpaceX got a huge jump on it. So they've been doing it for, I think, a decade or so, launching rocket after rocket. They have a heavy lift rocket to carry up some of the bigger satellites into space. And now they're working on that massive Starship. So this one from Blue Origin, the one you're looking at right here, is kind of in the middle of their heavy lift, bigger than their heavy lift, but smaller than that monstrous Starship that's been going up in Texas. And so this would compete eventually. Bezos said in 2015, maybe tourists, but at least in the short term, carrying up some heavy payloads like satellites like the size of buses. This thing has never ever flown, so there's a lot of anticipation about it actually flying. Excuse me. I interviewed Bezos back in 2015 when he first announced this. So he called us out here to the Space Coast, right near the launch pad, Pad 36, where this is going to go up from. It was an old, at the time, Air Force launch pad. It hadn't been used in, at that point, a decade. And he said, I'm going to pour tons of money into the Space Coast. I'm going to renovate that launch pad. We're going to build a factory down the road. In fact, where we just were a few minutes ago. We're going to build the rocket there. I'm going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars. The word on the street is he spent upwards of $1 billion or $2 billion of his own money to get Blue Origin off the ground. So, Julie, where we are now is Blue Origin is about to launch this thing. We don't know when, because Blue Origin hasn't said officially. So one of the things we're explaining today is the FAA puts out these regular advisories, essentially to other pilots, to the airlines. They try and schedule these launches late. It doesn't disrupt the airlines, but also any boaters, including ships. And they say, here is a potential launch window where this company has asked us to provide one. So in this case, I think Wednesday, very early Wednesday morning at 1 a.m., they've settled on a 4 hour or 5 hour launch window. I think it's a 4 hour starting at 1 a.m. But the thing is, Blue Origin doesn't have to take that launch window, right? So they're not going to launch until they're absolute. There's a lot riding on this rocket tech too. So any sort of anomaly, anything off nominal, you can bet that they're going to check out and they're going to make sure that their chances of success, they believe, are as close to 100% as they can possibly get. So if you've heard a rumor that maybe Blue Origin might be launching the New Glenn on Wednesday at 1 a.m., all it is at this point is an estimate based around the advisory that the FAA put out. So Um, Julie, I've been covering space a long time. What I would tell people is until Blue Origin actually confirms it, I don't know that we're going to have a launch. Right now, the rocket isn't even vertical at the pad anymore. It seems that they rolled it down back to their assembly facility. For what? We don't know because they don't say much. So I'd say don't go to the beach yet. Don't plan to go to the beach yet, at least early Wednesday morning until Blue Origin confirms it.
All right. Good advice, Eric. I don't want to set up my picnic basket at 1 a.m. and then be let down.
Right. Or neglect your kids, try to get them to school in the morning or they're asleep or anything like that. Yes.
Right. All right. So when will we see your story today on News 6?
Um, if you want the absolute truth, I don't know because we've been so busy that I haven't been able to look at our scheduling today. I would believe starting by 5 p.m. That's when we're going to start to plan to put all of this together. And then, of course, you'll see it on clickrelated.com too, as always.
So, Eric, I think just for good measure, people should start watching at 4 and just watch all the way through 7. That's what I think.
I try to do that every day. So,
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Why miss out? Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. It's a win-win.
Perfect. All right, Eric, I will let you and Destiny get back to work. I know you have a lot going on out there. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
Thank you. Bye, Julie. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, we saw an Eric shot there, some pretty weather out the window, but we are going to see some changes. A cold front is moving our way right now, and that will bring us the potential of a few showers, especially for our northern counties as we move through the late afternoon hours. Here's a look at the radar for us right now, scanning out, already seeing some light rain moving through the Big Bend area into northern Marion County, and we are going to continue to keep our rain chances for our northern counties right around 40% today. That front is still to our north. Out ahead of that, we're seeing winds out of the southwest. That has kicked our temperatures into the mid, even upper 70s in some spots. The Villages, right now, you're at 77, 76 in Sanford, and 76 if you are in Kissimmee. Those winds are pretty strong right now, gusting up to around 30 to 35 miles per hour. What you're looking at on the screen right now, those are sustained winds. So in Ocala, you are seeing sustained southwest winds at 24 miles per hour, and winds are sustained in Melbourne at 21 miles per hour. That is why we do have a wind advisory in place for some of our counties today. That is up until 7 o'clock. Now, this graphic you're looking at, this is from the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. So the very northern fringe of our county. So basically the northern 3/4 of Flagler County on over through much of Marion County, as well as much of Sumter County. You have a marginal risk to see some isolated severe storms today. We're not expecting widespread severe weather, but we could pop a few strong to even severe storms as this front moves through. This is a wider lookout, and this is part of that same system that has blanketed much of the central U.S. with snow and ice. When we were talking to Dr. Jim Clark earlier, he was talking about all the snow in D.C. That is from this system. It's the tail end dragging that front, moving into the Big Bend area, and this will start to pop a few more showers across, especially our northern counties by around 3 o'clock. Then as we take you through around 5 o'clock, the front should be right along the I-4 corridor with some showers and some thunderstorms. Then this passes to our south by around 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, we still could see some lingering showers across areas like southern Brevard County, down toward Melbourne, Barefoot Bay, Mico, back down toward areas like Poinciana, Halapaw, and Deer Park as well. All of that clears, and then behind this, we quickly see our winds shifting out of the north, and that brings in cooler, drier air. So this will be the actual temperature when you wake up tomorrow morning. We're also looking at that potential of frost pretty widespread. You will wake up to 39 in Orlando and Kissimmee, 33 in Ocala, 34 in the Villages, and 42 in Cape Canaveral. But this is the important number. This is what it will feel like at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So when you step outside, it will actually feel like the low 20s in areas like Palm Coast, over through Ocala, the Villages. It'll feel like 28 in Orlando, and it will feel like 27 in New Smyrna Beach. And this is some of the coldest air we've seen in a couple of years, since about December 2022. So for today, warm ahead of that front. Then tomorrow we wake up in the 30s. We warm only into the 50s tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, and then start to creep back into the 60s which is still cooler than normal as we head into next weekend, but expect some really cold mornings for the next couple of mornings. We'll break all of this down for you coming up on News 6 starting at 4. If you have any questions or comments for us here at Take 6, head to clickorlando.com/take6. Let us know what's on your mind. We're so happy you spent some time with us today, and I will see you on TV at 4.